another Love Conversations.
Thomas the Train. Thanks.
Is that Thomas the Train? We are so excited to be back with you guys. We took a month off. Yeah, last month. We took a month off and we missed you guys. I promise that we did.
Yeah, I really miss talking about uncomfortable subjects like sex.
Yeah.
Can you tell? Like, I really missed that. For those of you who are wondering.
No, we did. We missed you guys. We were actually on a hiatus because our sponsors, the Love Potluck, we've talked about them a couple times. They are an awesome ministry and business where it connects Adventist singles to each other through speed dating method. So they actually were going through some changes with leadership and stuff like that. So they took a break to make sure that they had all their ducks in a row, and they are back on. So we are happy to be on this month. We'll have one this month and next month. And I just wanted to give you guys a heads up for the next Love Potluck event because we don't want you to miss it. It's going to be December 12th. I wanted to make sure I got that right. December 12th. Okay. And it'll be, I think, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So sign up for that. They've lowered their prices to make it more approachable and feasible for everyone. So we're excited to hear. Including men. Yeah, pitch it to the guys.
Because we're cheap, right? Yep. So they brought the prices down for us.
Yeah, because the girls are like, I'll pay anything for a spouse.
It's worth it.
Yes.
It's worth it.
Also, don't at me, because I know some of you all are watching and you're judging the Christmas decorations. But this is the holiday season.
You haven't even seen the house. This is just a corner. You've not seen the house. So
the Christmas time pillow.
For those of you who would be irritated by Christmas decorations, be grateful that you cannot see the house right now.
Yes. May have gone a wee overboard, but we love ourselves some Christmas in the Harrison household. So if you are a Christmas starting November 1st kind of person, put it in the chat. I need to see where my people are at. I need to feel like I'm not alone out here. If there's anybody else out here who can vouch for me, I'll take it. Okay.
Pray first.
So today we are going to talk about a super interesting topic. To us, it's very personal because it really describes our relationship.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
When opposites attract, like you and I. Okay.
See what she just did right now. I would never do that. I'd never do that. In a million years, I'd never do what she just did. Right now.
Right.
It's clear that we're opposites.
So when opposites attract, we're going to look at, what does it take to bring and keep two people together that are different? And we need to give a little disclaimer, okay? Because some well-meaning people who are older than us were like, what you all know about that? And you're right. We are young, okay? We've been together.
I'm 25 years old. For those of you guys who are wondering, I'm not 12.
Were they wondering that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Saying,
Okay, maybe it's because of the beard.
Yeah, put some respect on my name, man. I'm 25 years old, bro.
Right. Okay, so we're going to put it right there where it belongs on your name. And we will continue the conversation to say we've been together 8 years. Our anniversary is tomorrow. We've been married of those 8 years, 4 years, right? So there is a dynamic shift between dating and marriage. Everyone knows that. Yeah. So we have been together a while, but not anything close, right? To say we're gurus.
Well, 25 years old, guys. Come on. Well,
yeah.
She's 26. She's older.
Appreciate you putting my business out there. So
she's older.
We don't have all the answers, and we never do. Right? Mm-hmm. We come to these things to you guys very honest, very raw, to say listen, we can only share from experience and what the Lord has taught us through his word and through his whispers, right? And through our experience as a couple. And we're going to share some stories tonight about people in my life that have been together over 25 years. My parents, have been together as long as I've been together. Alive, which is 26, and then a little bit more. So we're going to share some expertise from all around. And so we're excited to get in. But we want to show you guys just how opposite we are. Okay. So to illustrate this,
for those of you who didn't know, right? Because, wow, we're pretty much the same person, right?
From cultures to the way we approach life, Jamil and I, we definitely are different. Opposite could be a good word to describe. So we're going to do a version of
a shoe game.
The shoe game that they do at weddings and stuff, except we
This
already
isn't a wedding.
got married and we already know the answers to these, but you guys don't. So we're going to play it for you. So who's the pickier eater?
Wait, don't I need one of your sandals too? You need one of mine.
Here, put this. It's like this. See, we don't even know how to play the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right. Who's the pickier eater?
No. But you have to raise the thing.
Yes, I'm raising it.
No way.
Jamil.
No way, guys.
All he eats is oatmeal. I don't understand how that's not picky. He only likes one vegetable and he barely likes fruit. I really don't know how that's not picky.
No, the fact that all I eat is oatmeal pretty much proves the point that I'm not picky.
We're gonna fight.
Because I can eat anything.
We're just supposed to raise the sandal, but I'm going to hit him.
Vanessa's
with
the bougie. Vanessa's the bougie one in
lie.
my relationship.
The lies are being told. Okay.
This is hers.
Was the question who's a bougier eater?
It said who's the pickier eater.
You.
No. You can warm up oatmeal no matter where you are.
Okay, our sister says you're equally picky. So you know what? Look at us. Not opposites in this one. Okay.
Okay, I
guess
we're the same.
Who likes to save money?
Oh my. I wish you guys could see the Christmas decorations. I can't move the camera right now. But if you could just see them, man.
We'll have to put like a
this is tuition money right now.
Get out of here.
We finished our masters, and Vanessa's like, man, like, what can we do with the money we save for our masters? Get Christmas decorations. That is where we're at right now.
Who's a morning person?
That's so easy. These are the first one. The first one was the only one you're probably gonna see us struggle with. The rest are pretty easy.
Definitely, I am not a morning person. I will set how many alarms?
Like 62.
That's a lot of alarms.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
Okay. Who's the extrovert?
Why are you lifting your thing?
Because I only got one shoe. You're representing me for the both of us.
You thought of the game.
Okay. I am the extrovert. I don't know if you can tell from these conversations.
She is
because he hides it well. He's a very good introvert. Like, okay, that's probably wrong. I love all you introverts out there. This is not a diss against you. I'm saying he hides his introvertism well.
I don't. People look at my face and they're like, he doesn't look friendly. Like that. That's my life. Okay. I don't think I hide that well. Just on people the just assume that I'm not friendly, so I don't know how that's hiding.
Okay. Who's the goofiest?
You're the goofiest, bro. Yeah, you're pretty goofy.
I really appreciate that.
You're pretty goofy.
Because you're goofier than me.
That was you.
Okay, who's the last person to leave church?
Oh. Vanessa, for sure.
Which also consequently means Jamil. Ha. Got you there.
That's true.
Okay, so I don't know if this illustrated the point well enough. So we're going to answer a question. Okay, you have a free Saturday night, Jamil. Mm-hmm. No responsibilities. No one's called you up.
No one's called me up.
There's no plans.
Okay.
What do you do with your free Saturday night?
I stay at home. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be at home. That to me is a great Saturday night activity.
So sad. Okay, so if we're going to stay at home, I'd at least like other people to join us at home. Yes. Or I'm like, why stay at home when we can go out? That's my question. Yeah. I know we've been out all day.
Exactly.
And we're gonna be out all day. We're gonna be out for the rest of the week. Uh-huh. But we need to also go out tonight. Okay. So Jamil and I, in so many ways, are opposites. I'm very extra. Jamil's very simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Black.
Okay. I'm Hispanic. Oh, right. Okay. I really like desserts. Jamil could really care less. I love ice cream. Jamil doesn't like ice cream. See, I don't know how he's not the pickier eater.
She reads. I'm illiterate.
That's not true. Like he prefers to play like video games and stuff. Like there's so many things. Like I am very impulsive. Jamil is definitely a thinker.
I'm an overthinker. And I'm indecisive. So I can't make decisions.
I'm very decisive.
So I can't be impulsive because I can't make decisions. So
okay. Yes.
I freeze when I could act.
Mm-hmm.
But we're working on that, right?
Yes. I'm proud of you. I put my foot in my mouth. There's actually this phrase that we use with my friends where I go, take it back, because I often vomit my words.
That's true.
A lot. And anyone who's close to me knows this. My family who's watching this, I have shamed you before, and I am sorry. Okay. Jamil, very, very choice with his words. Very, very much.
Part of the reason why I don't talk a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim, I will overtalk. I will over-explain. I'm very animated. Jamil's very chill. Yeah, so Jamil and I are opposites in a lot of ways. So how have we made this work for 8 years? Or my parents, who, like, if you think of my mom, if you think of me, I know I said it like that. Like, I'm from New Jersey now. From my mom. Okay, if you think, look at me and you see my mom, but just like older and with more experience. So like, and my dad is introverted. He also is a thinker, but he can be kind of impulsive. So that's kind of interesting. But like my mom is very loud. My dad's not. My mom would love to go out. My dad likes to stay home. My mom loves to spend. My dad likes to not spend. Okay. So like, similar to Jamil and I, and a lot of couples out there, opposites attract, right? It just seems like people will gel together who are completely opposite in so many ways. Okay. So what is the key ingredient, right? Because we can think of like, okay, things my parents have learned is like compromise, right? So like they stay in for the afternoon, they go out for the night. They both get that. Or my mom can spend, but my dad gives her a certain amount of money that she can spend. So she still gets a little bit, okay, like I have money for myself. I have money for, fun or a date night, but at least it's a certain amount. They've made compromises. They've learned to understand each other. I've had to learn how Jamil operates and be intentional about learning that. But like, what is the key ingredient to keeping two opposite people together?
Values.
Dun, dun.
Values.
Okay.
So we have to understand the fact that just because we don't act the same doesn't mean we don't have the same values.
Yeah.
What we've learned in our marriage and in other marriages, people can be different. People can be opposites. But it's important that they have the same values, because if they do not, some crazy, cringy, interesting stuff can happen.
Yeah, exactly. When people start to either don't have the same value, that's why people will ask all the questions before people get married, right? Mm-hmm. Like, have you talked about finances? Have you talked about having kids, right? And one person will be like, oh yeah, we've talked about it. We're okay not having kids. The other person is secretly saying, yeah, but I'm going to change their mind, right? But that person values a life without children. And this person is saying, okay, I see that value and I'm going to pretend to be on the same page. Mm-hmm. Right. And what happens down the line, issues arises to the point where maybe it doesn't work out and it ends in divorce. Right. So there are different ways that this can play out. But let's look at what the Bible says. And I want to just parallel values and belief. Okay. Mm-hmm. Values and belief, they can be interchangeable. Right. When you value the same thing or believe in or believe for the same thing. Okay. So what does the Bible have to say? We're going to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Okay. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, starting in verse 14.
Say amen when you have turned to it. Verse 14 says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God, as God said, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
So good. Okay, so this is a verse that people often use. Okay, mainly just the first part, right? Do not be unequally yoked. And this is just for clarification, this is yoked, like Y-O-K-E-D, and not yoked, like the center of an egg.
Yoked.
Don't make the same mistake as I did. Okay. Yoked.
See, what you need to learn is God's talking about eggs.
Okay. Don't make the same mistake as me. Be better than me. All right. So they love to say, like, don't be unequally yoked. Like, don't marry outside of your belief system. Right. And to a certain point, They are correct. But what is Paul saying here? What can we glean from this of how two people stay together, value systems? What do you have to offer us?
Well, I mean, explain to the viewers what did it mean to be yoked? Like, what is a physical illustration you can give to
them? So this is so cool. I love the way that the Bible, especially Paul in this verse, uses imagery, right? So Jesus also talks about a yoke, right? And how this yoke, his yoke is light, right? It's not heavy, it's not burdensome. And so what happens is that a yoke is this, in a sense, tool that takes two oxen and it links them together so that they have more power, more thrust, more ability, right, to plow the fields together. Essentially, to be yoked, these oxen have to be on the same accord on where they're traveling together, the direction that they're going. One oxen can't be like, no, but I really want to go this way. Or the other one, no, I want to go. No. They're yoked together. They're both saying, okay, we're going to go forward. Okay. And this is the direction in which we're going, right? So super powerful imagery there.
And some people find themselves in a position where they're discouraged, they're heartbroken, they're having trust issues because they followed a purpose rather than purpose. Mm-hmm. So they followed a person. Sorry.
There you go.
They followed a person rather than purpose.
Oof.
So,
okay.
So in this, you're thinking of like the yoke, right? So when you see this cattle, they're on a path together, right? They're on a path together and they have a purpose that they are fulfilling. However, what if one of the cattle wanted to go somewhere else? And then the other one wanted to go a separate way. The mission, the purpose that they had would not be fulfilled because they're not on the same path. They're going in different directions. So what Paul is saying here is deeper than just about finding a partner, right? But it's having a partner, but not just having a partner, but finding your partner in your purpose.
Yeah.
That's
going the same direction.
That's probably the meat of the verse, finding your partner in your purpose. Because if you're just following a person and you're not following your purpose, then you're going to find yourself. You guys are going to go in different directions. That's what it's going to look like. For those people unequally yoked, they may be going in different directions. So there's no such thing as purpose or direction or path because they're not on the same mind. They don't value the same thing.
Exactly. And this is something even in our relationship that we had to come to terms with, because I was like, for me, the Bible really opened up its meaning, right? And I'll ask the question first and then give you my experience with it. Can you be unequally yoked with someone who is in the same denomination as you? Put your answer in the chat, whatever you think, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. We're here to discuss, we're here to talk about this, right? Can you be unequally yoked with someone who is in the same denomination as you? Y'all both Adventist baptized. Y'all both Baptist baptized. Y'all both Pentecostal baptized, right? Like that's what's on your membership. Can you still be unequally yoked? Yo, we got some people. I love it. Marlon didn't just say yes, he said yap. Okay. Amber, all caps, yes, exclamation mark, right? We have some people here on Instagram as well saying absolutely yes. And I will totally agree with all of you, because here's the thing. I love what Paul does, right? He has this very simple verse at the beginning. Do not be yoked with an unbeliever. Okay, so the word unbeliever just describes a state, a spiritual state, someone without belief. Okay, you can find that with someone who has Adventist or Baptist or Catholic, whoever, written on their membership. You can find an unbeliever that they will go, they'll sit in church, right? Or I love this comment on here. People can be at different places in their spiritual walk, exactly, where they will sit and listen to a sermon and not believe a word that is coming out of the speaker's mouth. They'll read the Bible in a small group and say, I don't really believe in this, right? But I'm going to go to all the things because it's a culture, it's something. So the word unbeliever will apply to anyone who's without belief. Okay. Then he goes on to say, okay, this is how it can also be played out. It can be played out in people who are worshiping idols. It can be played out in people who have darkness, right? Like these things cannot mesh together. Why? Because one will always overtake the other. You cannot have light and dark, right? You're going to have a shadow. Okay. So this is where we find ourselves. Okay. Back in 2015. Okay. Jamil and I spiritually both started at the same place. Okay. Maybe me a little bit more like, I don't know, awakened, or my parents had really poured into me to make sure that I was active in ministry. I knew what my talents were. And so I was doing ministry all the time, but like I did a lot of things for God and didn't really know God intimately, consistently. Okay. And that's no fault of anybody. That was just my reality. Okay. Jamil was at very much the same place. Like, how would you describe your relationship with God back then?
I didn't think it was relevant to my goals in life at the time. So,
right.
I mean, I was just doing gymnastics 24/7. So that was on my mind. A relationship with God wasn't really on the top of my list. I didn't have anything against God, but it just wasn't on the top of my list at the time.
Right, exactly. So it's not a good or bad thing. You're kind of just indifferent to God, right? He wasn't a present part of your life. He didn't really have anything to do with your everyday walk. So we were both at that place, right? Like when it came to journeying daily with God, we really didn't, okay? Then things changed drastically for me. And by God's grace, I found myself in a place where I was literally pushed into a leadership position where like I had to now be a spiritual rock for other people. And I was like, I can't do this with a mediocre relationship with Christ, right? Like I have to be, only he can get me through this, right? And that's why adversity, things that are bigger than us, welcome those, right? Because it makes you rely on something bigger than yourself, the rock that is higher than you. And that's exactly what happened to me. So Jesus became so real to me. Oh my lands. He was like speaking to me. I was hearing his voice. I would call Jamil every night after I was at a retreat, and I would call him every night like, oh my gosh, God said this, God said that. And he was just like, what is happening? Like, yeah, like what's happening, right?
Good talking.
Exactly. So I got back, and for the next like 6 to 8 months, right, where I'm trying to like convert Jamil. I'm trying to like, how can you have the same experience with God that I can? And I came to a head where I realized Jamil is not at the same spiritual place that I am right now. And if we continue this direction, I will not be able to fulfill the God's calling on my life, because I will always be either pulling him with me, and it's not going to be fun for either of us, right? Because he's never going to understand what it looks like to be in love with God and to serve him with your whole heart in ministry. And so I gave God the opportunity, listen, now or never. Change him now, or I'm going to have to break up with him because we're not equally yoked. We're not going the same way. And it opened my eyes to say, yes, like, even though we're both Adventists, we're both going to Vespers, we're both going to church, like we were not at the same spiritual place, but God was faithful and ended up converting to now we're here, right? And we're able to be two oxen yoked together, going to the same location, okay? So keep this in mind, right? When we're looking at people, especially people who are opposites, our values, our belief systems, they need to be within the same framework so that you can go into the purpose that God has for you. Do you have any other comments on this?
Yeah, and some people may be like me, where you're wanting things to just be really clear in order to understand it. So basically a question that I want to tackle right now is, how do I know that I'm unequally yoked with my partner?
Yeah, good question.
What are some
tall tale signs?
Yeah, what are some red flags that I can look for? Verse 16 says, "What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their God." So we know here in this text, God is saying, listen, I want you to be my temple. Like you, like I want to dwell with you. I don't want you to have to come to a temple to dwell with me anymore. Like I want to dwell with you. But we also see idolatry in this text. So for those of you who are asking this question, if you find yourself in a situation where you're asking yourself, and let's just make this even easy. What are idols, right? Idols are anything that we have put in the place of God. That is what an idol is. So If you put your car in the place that belongs to God, that is an idol, right? If you put your career in a place that should belong to God, that is an idol. So if you find yourself in a relationship where your partner is in the place that only belongs to God, then you could be in a relationship where you guys are unequally yoked. Mm-hmm. If they are making you make the decision to put them ahead of your relationship with God,
right,
then that is a clear red flag in saying, wow, like, even though you're Adventist, right? Like, even though we went to the same high school, we're unequally yoked. And this is something that we have to address right now. And it could end up changing, right? Like,
yes,
it could. That is possible. It could end up changing. Or God could call you to come out of the relationship. Because he has something better in store for you. So that's one sign to be able to see, and wow, like, is my partner making me choose them over God? If so, that is idolatry, and that means that this relationship is unequally yoked.
And that's why it's easier to set the values at the beginning and to look at prior evidence of, like, okay, this person says, like, this is like the running joke of, like, you know, Instagram God first, right? And then the rest of their Instagram is like, God where? Like, I don't see him anywhere, right? So, like, the evidence backing up their claim is minimal. And so when we're coming into relationships, right, especially in ones that, you know, like, okay, the person is different from me in whatever sense, and in personality, at least to establish the values at the beginning of, okay, yes, like, God is priority for me. And what have you seen in the life of that person to back that up? Even if it's not, we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for, like, perfect scores, or they're always doing that. But you see enough evidence there to say, yeah, like, I see that. I see the way they worship, or I see the way they treat their parents, or I see the way that they treat their siblings or their friends, or the way they talk about people. Like, I see the evidence in their claims. Okay. So establishing these values at the beginning are key. And so we just want to end with this question. Okay. And I'm going to pitch it to Jamil because it's a hard question and I don't want to answer it. So the question is, what are the importance of values in the relationship? We've talked about that a little bit, but maybe a little bit more on this. Can you give examples of a few values that we should put in priority? What are some examples of values in relationship that we should be like, okay, this is what I want to look for, especially in the context of Christianity?
So general, not you and I per se.
It can be, I mean, ours is what? Christian relationship, right? So
yeah, that's true. Okay, I guess we are Christians. I would say one of the top ones, God being your first love. Even though that sounds really easy to understand, believe it or not, it is actually a concept that is not too common. And it is something that I had to learn, because at first, my first love was Vanessa. And I thought that was okay, because that's kind of what the world paints. Like, yeah, like, you know, your soulmate, you know,
because your person.
Yeah, like, so I'm thinking it's not bad that she's my first love. But in a relationship that is specifically a Christian relationship, it's important that both partners realize that their first love should be God. And then their second love is each other. And that is very countercultural. It feels weird coming out of our mouths. Like, what? Like, you're like my second love. But you have to understand that God is going to hold your partner to a higher standard than you ever could. Right?
That's good.
Like, than you ever could. So for us, a lot of us, we're trying to, you know, make it so that, man, like, I'm living up to Vanessa's expectation of me, right? But if I'm living up to what God is calling me to be,
right,
I'm gonna supersede Vanessa's expectation, right?
That's right.
If she's living up to what God is calling her to do, she is going to exceed my expectations that I have for her. Yet we can find ourselves in this battle when we're not putting God as like our first love, and we're trying to, you know, find a way to where we can just meet the expectations of the other person. You know, like, the other person has taken the place of God. That is a dangerous position to put yourselves in.
That's right.
Because we are both human. We're both fallen. We're both sinful. There are going to be things that I may desire that is not God's will for Vanessa.
That's true.
So at the end of the day, she needs to be making sure she's listening and she's being obedient to what God is saying, right? And hopefully in my relationship with God, I'm going to be listening and trying to hear from him where he's trying to take Vanessa.
Very good.
So that I'm not holding her back. I'm not saying, wow, really, you're going to do that? You're going to do that, man. You never put me first. Why does she need to put me first if she's putting God first? Like, so good. Like, why is that even going to be an argument? Yes. That doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
But again, that only comes into fruition when you realize who your first love is.
Exactly.
That's why it's important.
So good, Jamil. Excellent. I mean, these values, like that's the huge one, right? The overarching one of like, who's your first love, right? Things that come into accordance with that, of like your values of honesty, your values of a biblical study, like the values that you believe in within your belief system, right? Mm-hmm. Your views on the Sabbath and how that looks like for you and for your family. And so I just want to give a word here as we end to those who are in long-term relationships. You often hear the phrase of like, we're just two different people. We grew up and we grew apart, right? Especially for people who maybe like us were together from a really young age. I was 18, you were 17. When we were together, we were in high school, right? And we've seen each other develop, but we're going to continue to grow and to develop. And what happens is,
not like I was in high school.
Right, we're not the same people, and praise God for that, okay? Because what happens is that when you commit to God being your first love, what he does is, because he loves marriage, he loves the covenant relationship, and he knows that only he can hold it together, is that he will, when you dedicate and surrender yourself to him, help you guys grow together. But if you're at the place right now where there is just like this wall, right, with your partner, or there is just in your marriage, you just feel like you haven't connected. You feel like you're two different people. You're drifting apart. You don't know each other anymore. You have to ask yourself, what are you valuing right now? Because I bet you your values are different. And that is a reason why this connection, what you used to have, you guys used to value the same things, but you're at this place now, maybe you've gotten complacent, or maybe it's just been really difficult, right? Some difficult, trying times. I don't want to speak into your specific situation, but God can. And so there's this call to you to come back and say, hey, are we equally yoked? Are we going the same direction? Do we want the same things? Not that just we want, but what God is telling us to do, where God is telling us to go. And to submit in prayer and supplication together and independently to say, okay, we are going to come to this place where we value the same thing again, where we're yoked together and we're going the same direction. Okay. So how do you keep two opposite to people together? People like my parents, people like us. Listen, the Holy Spirit will help define your values. Okay. And you'll come into this place to say, we have common ground. We're yoked and we're going the same direction. Anything else you want to add?
Could you just circle back around to what you were saying about God's yoke being easy and light?
Yeah.
Just a reminder, because there was something I wanted to say about that, but just to refresh what you
said.
So
essentially, this yoke that is given, Jesus talking about it. He says, listen, my yoke, the one that I give, is light. It's not burdensome. It's not cumbersome. It's not going to weigh you down. In fact, it'll help you get to where you're going. That when you're thinking about a yoke like this, you got to take this thing, you got to dig up the ground. And what's that? Black horse or war horse or whatever, where he has to dig up that thing?
Black horse.
Isn't that what it's called? War horse? You remember?
I think it's war horse.
Okay, but it was a black horse? Anyway, but you see him kind of going through that ground and it's full of rocks, and they're like, if you can pave this, then we're going to get you. So it feels like that sometimes, right? Where it's like, but God, what Jesus is saying is like, listen, that task with my yoke, forget about it.
And it looks different when one person has the light, easy yoke, right? Mm-hmm. And another person has the yoke that the world gives.
Mercy, yeah.
Right, the job is going to look completely different, right?
It will, absolutely. You'll see
the path is going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. And you're going to feel like you're always dragging this person behind you, right? But you have to remember, like, again, when it comes back to values, like, what kind of yoke are they carrying? Are they carrying the yoke that comes from God? Mm-hmm. That's easy and that's light? Are they carrying the yoke that comes from the world that just tells them, listen, you need to do this, you need to do this. You add value to yourself, right? You pick yourself up. You're the one that gives yourself worth, right? Because at the end of the day, the job, when you're like what you said, when you're plowing, when you're making those lines, and it's gonna look completely different. If you're in a relationship with someone who's not carrying the yoke that's easy, that's light. You're gonna see that. You're gonna see that in a relationship. You're gonna see that in your marriage.
On the same page, be equally yoked.
Equally yoked.
Yeah,
it's important.
It's gonna make the difference. So, guys, we love doing these conversations with you guys. We may do a follow-up conversation with this, looking at how you prevent being unequally yoked, right, from the onset. We'll see. I'm getting some ideas or whatever. But until then, we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you for joining us. We pray it was a blessing. Enjoy your weekend and hope to see you guys next time.
We'll see you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.